Hey guys, it's get ready with me time. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to do a get ready with me today and talk a little bit about my European trip that I took. I'm going to talk today about my flight there and about Barcelona. Today I am going to be doing a full face of makeup, as you can clearly see. I'm going to be using my brand new Mar palette that I just got from Colourpop and the new Colourpop lipstick in Liquid Courage. So I will have those on my face at the end of this whole thing. So of course I'm going to start this off with my favorite sunscreen. This is the Anthelios 60 from La Roche-Posay. I just put on a bunch and slather it on because sunscreen. Speaking of sunscreen, do not forget that when you go to Barcelona, because it is beautiful and it is sunny. At least when I was there it was sunny, and it can get a little bit warm, but that is absolutely wonderful. So I started off my trip to Europe like I start off all of my trips, being nervous and sweaty. It's because I really do hate airports. I don't hate flying, I hate airports. Started off my trip actually getting on a bus to go to O'Hare in Chicago, and the last time I was in O'Hare was terrible. They were mean, and this time was really not that different. They were still mean. It doesn't mean I don't like Chicago or Chicago people, it just means I hate O'Hare Airport. I understand there's a lot of people that go through there. There's a lot of security. They go through, security workers put up with a lot, and they have to develop an outer shell. However, I still dislike airports. I flew Norwegian Air, and it was one of those, I think a 787. It was the Boeing Dreamliner, and it's a really, really nice plane. And luckily, the seat between me and my seatmate, who was in the window seat, was empty, so we got a full seat between each other, and I got my aisle seat, which I really like for a long flight, so I can get up and stretch and go to the bathroom when I need to. The nice thing about the Boeing flight that we were on is that they have those entertainment systems in the back of the seat in front of you, so you can watch all kinds of movies, and you can play games like solitaire and do puzzles and play trivia, and you can also order things right from your seat and they will bring it to you, which is kind of awesome that you don't have to wait for the little trolley to come around. You just click on a thing that says, "I would like a Snickers bar now, thank you." It will go on my tab. You just slide your card through the little card reader and then they come and bring it to you. And yes, it is probably too expensive, but it's what I'm working with, and it made me feel happy. The first thing I did when I got on that plane was I ordered a Glenlivet for myself with just scotch, because otherwise I wasn't going to be able to survive 8 hours on the plane. Sorry, that's just how it is. I don't do tranquilizers. That is my tranquilizers. Read a book, talked to my seatmate, who was very, very, very talkative, which was fine, but also I wanted to read my book, but also she was interesting. She had traveled a lot and she was a photographer, and she was so nice, and she gave me advice about things to see and what to do, and my flight was uneventful. That was my first flight. Next I'm going to put on my Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser for priming. Just trying to use this stuff up. It looks like that. Then I got to London Gatwick. I was connecting to an EasyJet flight, and I guess if you connect to an EasyJet flight, you are responsible for getting all your bags and getting rechecked in. It's not really a connecting flight, so I had to make sure that my bags got to the next plane, go through security again, go through passport control, went through the duty-free at London Gatwick, and ended up buying this little journal, which I ended up writing in for the majority of my stay in Europe. So this became my European journal. This is just so cute. It's from Millie Green for Glorious Britain. Very adorable that I found a Scotty journal there. Next I'm going to use the Skin Illuminator from number 7. I lost a lot of time, so the first thing I did when I got out of security and passport control is I went and changed in the bathroom. The bathrooms were gross, whatever. It is what I dealt with. Cleaned up a bit in the bathroom and then went to go figure out where I had to go catch my next flight. This is the Real Techniques, what is it called? Miracle Complexion Sponge. I've been enjoying putting on my makeup with the sponge lately. Usually I've been using the Sonia Kashuk one that I got in my Target box. I just got this at Ulta last night, so I'm trying it out for the first time, but with the foundation that I've been using, I've been liking the way that it goes on with a sponge rather than a brush. Usually I use the Real Techniques complexion brush with my favorite foundation, which I'm not actually using today. I have a mirror in here for my Mar palette that I'm going to be looking into. I also have a mirror over there that I can kind of see in, but mostly I'm just going to be looking in this. And it is a little bit dark and dingy today, so the lighting will not be optimal. So I just pushed this into the skin for a nice glowy undertone to my foundation, and I think it looks nice. Spent about 3 hours at Gatwick, got on my plane to Barcelona, and watched us fly over the English Channel from England to France to Spain. And as soon as we started to land, I could see the whole city of Barcelona over the Mediterranean Sea, and it was so beautiful. I could see, the first thing I could see was the Sagrada Familia from the air. I thought that was so cool. I saw the blue of the Mediterranean Sea. You know, I saw the green, the hills. It was just so beautiful, and it was a beautiful sunny day. I got there probably about 5:30 or so in the afternoon. And my first impression was, this is straight up heaven, and for the most part I really was not wrong about that. Again, had to go through and get my passport stamped. Because I'm from the US, you have to get it stamped by an actual person. I think if you have an EU passport you can just go get it scanned or have self-check-in or whatever, but no, we're not that advanced in the US, so I had to go up to an actual Border Patrol officer. He said something to me in Spanish. I smiled politely, and he threw my passport back. Well, he didn't throw it at me, but he tossed my passport back at me and said, okay. So, off I went into Barcelona, away from the airport. I just walked to the main terminal and I got some euros from the ATM, and then I got on the Aerobus, which is the bus that takes you straight to the main plazas in Barcelona. So I took it all the way to the Plaza Catalunya. The bus ride was, I don't know, it started on the highway, so, you know, it's just your typical, it kind of looked like California from the highway, except the cars all looked new and clean, and everybody there in Europe looks like they have a brand new car. I don't know why that is. And they're all driving them at a crazy amount of speed, and there's a lot of bicycles, motorcycles going through the lanes, which is a little bit terrifying. But that is just the joy of European traffic, as I came to find out. Let's see here. I am going to use my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. This is in Fair. It's the lightest shade. It comes with just with a paddle that you put your stuff on. So, yeah. So the bus ride, it takes you through all parts of Barcelona. And, you know, it was beautiful to see the architecture and to see just a different way of organizing a city. And it finally just dropped me off at the Plaza Catalunya, and I got off the bus and I just went straight to the plaza, and it was absolutely gorgeous. It was sunset and all the pigeons were out. Well, I'm sure the pigeons are always out in Europe, but they're always out in New York. They're everywhere, but there were just flocks of them, and people were, you know, playing with gigantic bubbles, like, you know, those giant dish soap bubbles that you do, and you know, people were just out and relaxing and having a good time on the plaza. And so I sat there, looked around for a while, and tried to figure out. I couldn't check into my Airbnb until about 8:30 because my flight had gotten in too late and she wasn't going to be home until about that time. So I had lots of time to sit around or just explore. I was also carrying a giant suitcase with me. I now realize I took way too much with me when I went, too many clothes, but I didn't know how else to pack for 3 weeks, so I just ended up carrying a suitcase that was about the size and weight of me all over the place, which was fine for about the first few days and got really annoying later, but I made it through. I lugged it. And I'll talk more about packing for that kind of trip later. So I'm lugging around this suitcase about as big as me, and I decide, okay, it's my first day in another country, so what does an American do when it's their first day in another country? They go find the first Starbucks available. So I did that. And this was when I just started to get a bit nervous because I was on my own. I stepped off a bus in the middle of a city that I don't know the language. My fault. I'm not blaming any of these cultural mistakes on anyone but myself. You know, so I was like, at least at Starbucks, I know what I can order. I can just gulp it down. You know, it's thirsty as all get out. And, you know, I should be able to at least read the menu, right? So I walk all the way up to the Starbucks, and I look up, and I'm like, oh no, I can't read the menu. Not like, but I mean, I know that they have the same general things that everybody else, every other Starbucks in the world sells, at least I'm hoping so. So I get up and I got, you know, I kind of froze because it was my first time actually speaking to someone. I had talked to the guy on the Aero bus, but he spoke English, so it wasn't that big a deal. But I wasn't sure if I needed to greet her in Spanish or Catalan or English was fine. So I just kind of froze, and I got up and I kind of just was like, iced mocha? And she just kind of looked at me like, what, you want this size? And like, she spoke English, and I was like, oh, okay, yes please, iced mocha grande, whatever. And then I tried to hand her a 50 euro bill to pay for it because that's what I got out of the ATM. She's like, no, small bills only. I'm like, okay, fine. Credit card. So I'm scrambling into my purse, getting my credit card, and I'm just like, oh, my first interaction in Europe, and I've already failed so hard. And I'm just like, ugh. I went over and sat up next to the window, tried to like hide my giant suitcase under me, which was impossible, and just sort of got on the Wi-Fi and tried to figure out where I needed to be and where I needed to go. I don't know why this is so, anyway. I'm gonna put on some concealer. This is the Master Conceal from Maybelline, the Fair, of course. So I'm sitting in the Starbucks. I'm like about ready to cry, but I'm not gonna cry because I'm on vacation, right? I'm not gonna start my vacation by being a baby and crying because poor me, I didn't learn the language and I'm here by myself and it's my own fault, right? So I got my drink and somebody had drawn a little heart on it with my name on it, which was not actually my name, but whatever. And then, so I felt a little bit better. I'm like, okay, I'm not completely hated. At least the corporate overlords at Starbucks still love me, right? So I got out and I did some exploring. I was just near La Rambla, so I walked down La Rambla, and it was, you know, such an experience. You know, a lot like a lot of other pedestrian malls that I've you know, walk down, but again, it just has that specific Spanish or Catalan flavor. You know, you're hearing all kinds of different accents, not just Spanish, because it's an international destination. And, you know, it was just sort of really nice. I didn't really go into too many places, again, because I'm lugging around a suitcase. But I just kind of walked up and down and got a feel for what was available, what was going on. And so that was very, very nice. And of course, it was nice and warm. It was in the 70s when I was there, and it really wasn't getting cooler as the night went on. So that was nice because I wasn't going to start freezing. Then eventually I started to, I'm going to do my brows with this NYC, it's a waterproof eyeliner. I just use it for my brows. I don't have a problem getting it out. I got it for free from an influencer box a long time ago when I cared about that kind of thing, but I'm just using it to use it up again. So I walked back to the Plaza Catalunya. That was where I needed to start to get to my Airbnb. So I started there and I walked down, what is it called? The Plaza de Angel. The Angel Passageway, something like that, which is sort of the beginning of the, at least for me, it was sort of the beginning of the Gothic quarter where I was staying. And I was a little surprised because it was very much like a pedestrian mall, not like the Rambla, but more of like, you know, it's a cobblestone street with like the Disney store on one side and a Kiko Milano on the other, and just like all of these like Desidual. I saw lots of Desiduals, which is a design store. I think it's like the Spanish IKEA or something like that. I didn't really go in, so I don't know. So I saw a lot of like, you know, just corporate stuff that you can see in any mall, so it was a little bit like, oh, okay, but it was well lit, and it was about, you know, 8 o'clock at night, so I was, you know, happy for that. I walked down, and then I started getting more into the Gothic quarter, and the streets got much narrower and a little bit darker, and I never felt unsafe. Here's the thing. A lot of people were trying, before I went to Barcelona, to convince me to be very, very on my feet when I was there, to like keep my purse really close to me. They said, well, panhandlers are so aggressive there, you got to be really worried about that kind of stuff. And I didn't find that to be true for me. And it was a little bit annoying to me that people kept telling me that kind of stuff. I understand that it comes from a good place, but it's also one of those things where I'm a female traveling alone. I don't need any more stress than I already have. And also, like, nobody told me that about France, where there are also pickpockets. And nobody told me that about Amsterdam, where there are also pickpockets. It was just specifically Barcelona that people wanted to tell me that people were really aggressive. So it just seemed like a little bit of, like, I don't want to say it was like like racism or anything, but it was just a little bit annoying to hear that all the time when I went there, and I didn't feel like I ever had to really be that way. Like, I think when you're a woman traveling alone, you have to do your research and you have to be aware of your surroundings. And yeah, you do have to be a bit cautious, but that's anywhere. I could be walking down my own neighborhood and have to be cautious and aware. That's just a fact of life as living as a woman in 2018. Next, I'm going to prime my eyes with the eyeshadow primer from Wet n Wild. So I ended up being just a little bit offended by people constantly telling me to keep your purse really close, and gotta be really careful of pickpockets in Barcelona. They're seriously aggressive. And I never had anyone try to pickpocket me, and I had some people come up to me, panhandlers, and they do it in a specific way in Europe. They did it a lot of times to me in different cities. They usually have like a picture, or they ask you if you speak English, and then they start to tell you this sad story about they're running away from something, and they show you a picture of their child, and they want money from you, and they get the same response that they get when I'm here in my hometown. I don't have any cash for you, I'm sorry. Like most human beings, if you acknowledge them as a person and you treat them with dignity, they just go on about their business. So that's all I have to say about that. Yes, I did see panhandling. Yes, I did have people come up to me, but I never had anybody try to get into my purse or, you know, be aggressive with me. So the most aggressive thing that happened to me was that someone walked into me on the Rambla, and that's just because he was a young guy who was not watching where he was going, and he expected everyone to move out of the way for him. So this palette does not have a matte shade, so I'm going to be using my Anastasia single in Fresh right here. You can see I've hit serious pan on it. I'm almost done with it, but it is the perfect shade for me for setting my eye primer. This color, which originally came in my Anastasia Tomato palette and made me fall in love with it, is actually going to also be in the Sultry palette, which I have ordered from Ulta and will be getting here next week. So I'm going through the Gothic Quarter, and like I said, the alleys are getting, the streets are getting narrower and the buildings are getting higher, and you know, it was so wonderful. I mean, I've been to London and Edinburgh, and they both have, you know, their medieval parts, but I've never had that sort of all-encompassing feeling of being in a really, really ancient place. Like I said, London and Edinburgh are full of history, and I love them each in their own way, but Barcelona just had this particular medieval feel to it, at least the Gothic Quarter did, and I loved it so much as soon as I got there. I loved the winding streets and the little shops and the narrow alleys and the people walking up and down, because there were tons of people walking up and down, which is another reason I didn't really feel unsafe, because it's a tourist area and everyone's there. I'm going to start with this matte shade called Sorbet in the crease. I am going to be using this new set of brushes that I recently got from Walgreens. This is the Wet n Wild 10-piece brush collection. It's their holiday collection. It's got every kind of brush that you would need. You can see I've already used at least 3 of them. This is the highlighter, the powder brush, this is the powder brush, and this is the bronzer brush. Eyeshadow shaders, I've got crease brushes, I've got contour face, I've got another fan highlighter, and then I've got some more. I think this is actually a concealer brush, but I've got a blender here, and so I'm using those plus some of my other standard brushes that I also use. I think I'm going to start with this one from Sigma. This is the E45 Small Tapered Blending. I'm going to put that right here. So I was wandering around, and of course, I'm early for everything, so, you know, I found my Airbnb. I was up 2 or 3 flights of stairs. They weren't as narrow, but there wasn't an elevator. There are no elevators. I mean, not that there are elevators in Europe, but they're not like, if you're staying in an Airbnb, don't count on there being an elevator. So I walked up 2 or 3 flights of steps, and she gave me a key and showed me the bathroom and, you know, the stuff I could use in the kitchen, and I go into the bedroom, and she had a bottle of water for me and a bunch of like little things. I stayed and talked to her for a little while, and I said, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go take a shower because I've been up for 12 plus hours, and so I went and took a shower, and I put on, you know, I put on an eye mask under my eyes, and I started to read a book, and then I fell asleep. So, and this is all about, what, 9:30 at night, and she had said, oh, you're probably going to go out and, you're probably going to go out now and get something to eat, and I was just like, no, I'm really just tired, and I think I'll just do all of my exploring tomorrow. So I fell asleep and woke up around 11. So that was a little bit like, oh, it's 11. I was thinking I would sleep till like 9, but that clearly didn't happen. I was going to do a walking tour that morning, so I just decided to do it as soon as I got out of the house. So I got out of the house around noon, maybe 11:30, something like that. Next, with the same brush, I'm going to use this color Top Down, which is just a brown matte, again, to darken up the crease a little bit. So I get out of the house and it's a beautiful, brilliant, sunny day. Oh, it was so gorgeous. And I had my little piece of paper for the walking tour. So I did that and it was so beautiful. The streets, it was a walking tour of just the Gothic district. So I just wanted to get to know the neighborhood in the sunlight while I was there. So I did that, and there were so many beautiful and ancient places. I went to this place that had the oldest Roman ruins. It was a set of columns from an old temple. That was amazing. And then I saw the old Roman walls on the outer part of the Gothic by the, I think it was near the Via Laetana. That was very cool. I walked to the Barcelona Cathedral, I think, which is where I started. That was an amazing, amazing cathedral. I've been to Westminster Abbey, and that is also an amazing cathedral. But it just sort of exuded this ancientness, and I didn't end up going in because there was like a really long line to get in, and I just didn't want to stand in line all day, so I just continued to do my walking tour. I found all these little courtyards. I found a bunch of gargoyles, just, you know, hanging out in the alley. Lots of little courtyards near the Archdeacon's house. I walked into this little place called, I think it's called the Plaza San Philip Neri, and it's this little hidden place, kind of, and you walk in and there's this beautiful fountain, and along the wall are all these sort of pock marks. And so, according to this walking tour, this is the site of a bombing during World War II. And at the time, there was a school there, and I think they said like 40 kids got killed or something. And it was just so sad because there's still a school there. So when you're walking, and I'm there during, it was like a Tuesday, or it was a Thursday, I think, and school's in session, and so you can hear all these children's voices at school, and it was just so sad. Yeah, so that was pretty heavy. I'm going to use the matte cobalt shade called Detour on the outer part of my eyes. And so I just kept walking around and seeing all of these cool medieval and ancient and also contemporary places that were just so beautiful. And I walked into this courtyard, and I can't remember the name of the courtyard. It has something to do with like a reina, queen, something like that. And it's right, there's people sitting there enjoying, you know, their coffee or beer or whatever. And I looked over, and there's a little bar over in the corner there. Just in, I'll put a picture, but there's just this basset hound just chilling in front of the service area, the bars, the cafe. He's just chilling there, and it was so cute. He was just, I didn't ask his name or anything, but he was just sitting there, and I love dogs so much. There's so many dogs in Europe. I saw so many dogs in Europe, and it sort of makes me want to go, oh, I need one, but I don't need one right now. I've had several, and at this point, I just want to travel and do things, so I don't need that right now. But it's so hard not to come back from Europe and just be like, I want all the dogs. I want all of them. Next, I'm going to use the deep teal shimmer shade called Gridlock. And so there were just so many little hidden corners and things that you look up or you look around the corner, and I saw so many amazing things in Barcelona, and at least in the Gothic quarter, well, yeah, all around Barcelona, yeah, I would say, and just saw so many amazing things in the Gothic quarter. So that walking tour was a really good way for me to get excited about being in another place and learning learning my bearings and where things are. So I would really recommend doing something like that. Just doing a walking tour on your, not like a paid walking tour, like just do a tour on your own, and get to know the place that you're at and the things that are around you, and which I think is a bit easier to do if you're staying in an Airbnb versus staying at like a major hotel or something, which tend to be out by airports or, you know, very commercial parts of the city. So, and I haven't quite made my mind up. I would say I had really, really good experiences with my Airbnb. However, I know that there are issues for other people, specifically the Airbnb while black issue. Clearly I don't have that issue, so it was easier for me to navigate the ins and outs of that kind of thing, but I understand that there are issues with Airbnb and the service economy, and I understand that there are definite issues with Airbnb, but I will say, with my experience, and clearly it's not a universal experience, I enjoyed my time and the places that I stayed there. I will talk about a few things that I had issues with. However, I think those are issues that are kind of specific to where you're staying or the people you're staying with. Next, I'm going to use the shade Highway, which is the aqua shade on the inner corner. But it was really, a walking tour was a really great way to get to know the Gothic district and try as hard as I could. I could not get lost in the Gothic district. I couldn't just get lost and not figure out where I was. I knew, you know, I knew landmarks and things because I'd done the walking tour, so I never got nervous about being in a dark corner or, you know, an alley with no way out or anything. I just, because I knew where I was and I was aware of my surroundings, so it really was hard for me to get lost, and which was nice, but also kind of like, well, I kind of want to get lost a little bit, but you know, I'm going to use a bit of My Way, this sparkly shade, just on the outer portion of the eye to add a bit of more sparkle to that part of the eye. And then, of course, I did go up to the Sagrada Familia, which was in Eixample. I believe that's how you say that neighborhood. The Sagrada Familia is amazing. Again, I didn't go in it, but just to see it from the outside is wow. Wow. Just, I'll put up a few pictures, but you know, it's one of those perpetual construction projects. I don't remember when they say they think it's going to be done, but I don't think it's ever going to be done. There are parts of it that are just so gorgeous and so innovative and so beautiful. There's this area, I don't know if it's the back or the front of the church, but it's got this sort of mound of stone, and then there's all of these white painted doves put into the stone, and there's sort of this honeycomb of windows on the outside, and of course the spires that are topped by all of this sort of metal, and got a bit of fallout from this shade, but that's okay. 'Tis the weekend. But it was just, oh, so worth it to go see. I just jumped on the metro from, I think it was the Saint-Germain, to another stop, It was a couple of stops in between, but it was fairly easy to get to from the Gothic. And so I saw that, and I was adequately awed. And it's sort of between two parks, so you can kind of go around and see the whole thing from every angle. And then I walked down the, I believe, Avenida or Avengut. I'm not sure how you say it in Catalan, but it's the Diagonal. So it's a diagonal street that just goes, you know, through the center of the city. I walked down that, and just to get a flavor for the city, and saw a lot of service areas and coffee shops and all that kind of stuff. And I walked all the way down the diagonal to the again, I'm sorry if I'm not saying this correctly, the Passage de Gracia. I think it's the Passage of Grace, something like that, which is sort of the main, like, high-end neighborhood with, it's got the Chanel, the Gucci, the Louis Vuitton, all of that, and it also has a lot of the Gaudi buildings. You know, there's the Sagrada Familia, but Gaudi also did a lot of architecture within the city, so there's a couple of places there that have the Gaudi architecture on the outside, which are also so very cool and beautiful. You know, I did a little bit of shopping. I walked into a Uniqlo. I walked into, excuse me, an H&M and bought some makeup, and just walked all the way down the Passage de Gracia to the Plaza de Catalunya, which is where it ends up. Sat in the plaza for a while. It was so gorgeous, such a beautiful sunny day. And then walked around to Las Ramblas, or La Rambla. Just walked up and down and saw what there was to see there. They had the booksellers were up and down every street, which I thought was really cool. Unfortunately, I didn't really have, I still had my 50-euro bill, so, and I couldn't use a credit card, so I couldn't really buy any books from the sellers, but although I didn't really ask, maybe they take cards, who knows. And then on the inner corner of the eye, I'm going to be using this lightest shade here. You can see it's a peach color. It is called El Rey. I couldn't really find a place to eat. I'm so picky, and I'm so worried because they're on the Mediterranean. There's a lot of seafood, so I'm like, I don't want anything fried because it could be fried in the same thing as like octopus or whatever. And then I have an allergic reaction and have a $5,000 hospital bill. Again, this is on me, not on any of the countries that, you know. I'm going to line my eyes with top down. So I just was having trouble, like, finding a place to eat that wasn't like a Burger King or a McDonald's. I had stopped for breakfast at a local coffee shop called Black Remedy, which was really cool, but I wasn't in that area at the time, and I couldn't really find that kind of coffee shop on La Rambla. I think if I'd just gone down one of the side aisles, the side street, something, I probably could have found it, but I was just kind of stuck on finding something on La Rambla. So I kind of gave up on that idea, and I walked down, I think it's called the Carrer Ferran, which takes you from La Rambla back into the Gothic quarter and back towards my Airbnb. I ended up in this little plaza, I think it's called the Plaza George Orwell, and I believe George Orwell was there during the Spanish Civil War. I believe he wrote a book about it. I really don't know that much else about it, about what George Orwell, or why he would have a square named after him, but I found this cool little bar. I kind of walked past it at first, and then I was like, you know what, I'm on vacation. I'm just going to go in and see. It kind of had all these cool, like, Art Deco drawings on it, on the inside, and sort of just a bench along the side with some tables sticking out. So I just sat down, and I ordered a beer. Of course, I was, like, really nervous again, because, I asked the lady if she spoke English, the waitress, and she's like, a little bit, and I'm like, oh, so I just showed her what I wanted. I just wanted a beer. And so I sat and had a beer, and then I looked at their menu, and I decided I'm just going to get a meat and cheese plate. That seems like a very Spanish thing to do. So I ended up getting a cheese plate and a few more beers. A few more beers. Mind you, this was the first time I've had a beer in like 3 months, because I hadn't been drinking, just to, you know, save money, save calories. So those first beers were really, really good. And the place was fun, and it was beautiful to look out of. Looked out onto the plaza, and it just felt old. It had like this sort of 1920s, 1930s feel. I had a few more beers than I probably should have, and I walked home, and I think I didn't necessarily walk right home. I think I stopped and got some gelato. I walked around a few more plazas at night, and finally got home. So I'm going to put some powder under my eyes. This is the number 7 Perfect Light Loose Powder in Translucent. I really do like this with a sponge, not so much with a brush, but I am enjoying using it pressed into the skin. I could not figure out, I was having an issue with doors my whole time I was in Europe. I don't know what it is about doors that I don't know. But I couldn't find the hallway light. So I got all the way up 2 or 3 floors to my Airbnb, and I've got the key out, but I can't see anything, and I'm just kind of feeling around and feeling around and feeling around, and I was like, so I finally just rang the doorbell, and granted, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I felt so bad for doing that, but I could hear people talking, so I knew somebody was there, and up. And it was the husband of my Airbnb hostess, and he was just like, I just showed him my key. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't see anything. I don't know what to do. And he's like, oh, no problem. So I just got in and, you know, went to my room and felt bad for the rest of the night about, you know, possibly waking up my hostess, but, because she was very sweet. But it was a very long day. I had gone to Sephora earlier. The Sephora was really interesting because you kind of go down this, like, long escalator down into the bowels of this little shopping center, and then it just opens up, and it's huge Sephora in Barcelona. And I picked up a couple. I talked about this in my makeup I bought in Europe. I bought a bunch of I bought some of those lavender foot masks from Sephora, so I put those on. I put on some more eye masks and read a book, and my feet felt so much better after that night. And yeah, I had a good sleep. I didn't have a window. The room was sort of interior, but there was sort of a vent, or like there was kind of a window that opened up into the Airbnb hostess's bedroom, and she had a window that was out on had a balcony, and so you could hear the city noise. I like city noise. It doesn't bother me. That's what cities are supposed to be. They're supposed to be alive at night, and you know, I was on vacation, so it wasn't like I had to get up and go to work the next morning, so it didn't bother me. City noise is city noise. Not to say it doesn't bother me sometimes here when I have to go to work the next morning and it's 4 in the morning and my neighbor decides that he wants to start up his motorcycle. But again, I was on vacation, so it wasn't that big a deal. So I had a pretty good sleep. I woke up around 9 the next morning, and I went to the Via Laetana, and I got on a bus and went down to the beach. What is it called? Barcelona something, I can't remember. There's all kinds of different sections of the beach along the Mediterranean. But I got off and I went down to the Mediterranean Sea and I put my feet in it, and it was amazing. There were some nude sunbathers there, and they were mostly older. You know, it's fine, it's their city. I wasn't like shocked or appalled or anything, like, you know, but you have that sort of American, like, did I just see what I thought I saw? Yes, I did. I'm gonna walk that way now. So yeah, there was a little bit of nude sunbathing, which, you know, fine, whatever. Just look the other way and don't take pictures. Respect people's comfort with their bodies. I didn't go swimming because I didn't bring a suit. I do regret that a little bit, but also the waves were really, really, really strong. The Mediterranean Sea has this sort of roar to it that's like, I've been here longer than any of you. You will listen to me. And it's really beautiful. And also a bit intimidating. So I put my feet in the sea. Got my jeans a little bit wet, and then just walked up and down. I sat under a palm tree and wrote in my journal. Walked up towards, that was more towards the that hotel. I think it's the W Hotel. It has that really cool like sail sort of shape. And then I walked back up towards the other side, and I watched the people surfing. They kind of sit in a line in the water and wait for the waves to come in and surf. Which was really cool. Again, it got a bit warm, which I was not unhappy about because I had just come from October weather in Wisconsin, which is not the warmest in the world. So I was happy for any little bit of sunshine I could get. Next, I'm going to use my number 7 Exceptional Definition in Black mascara. My favorite mascara. I can only find it at Target. So I had to make a special trip to Target the other night to get a bunch of mascara. I know you're not supposed to do that to your mascara, but I don't care. So the beach was beautiful. The Mediterranean Sea was awesome. And I'm glad I finally got to say that I've put my feet in the Mediterranean Sea. I've been on the Mediterranean Sea. Morning I went to the beach. I stopped at this sort of famous coffee shop in the Gothic called Satan's Coffee House, which was really interesting. They have a sign outside that says no Wi-Fi, no something, no bullshit. You know, they're very much like, we're coffee and that's all you're getting. Very anti-Starbucks. Of course, by that time I had some cash, so I was able to pay in cash for my little flat white and I think I picked up a croissant at a bakery somewhere. I had my breakfast and spent some time at the beach, came back and spent some more time just shopping around. I was kind of looking for souvenirs to bring back for my family, but I'm not much of a souvenir shopper and I don't see much point in buying souvenirs that are made in China that have spent like 5 minutes in a bin in Barcelona so that you can say, here's a thing from Barcelona that was in a bin for 5 minutes, but actually it was made in China. And I just didn't have the luggage room for anything more like substantial. So I didn't really pick up a lot of like souvenir-y type things. But a lot of that's probably just my lack of imagination when it comes to that and not knowing where to look. Because I know there's things that you can get that, you know, just remind you of a place. They don't necessarily have to have Barcelona stamped on it. So that was kind of the point of me getting some makeup and going to Sephora and things, because I either like to get something that not necessarily has the name of the place, but it reminds me of the place, like whether it's some music or makeup or a book, something like that. It doesn't necessarily translate into a gift that you give someone, so I'm better at clearly shopping for myself than I am for other people. And then I ended up in another plaza. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called Plaza Real. It's this big square, and it has like a huge seafood restaurant on one side, but it also has a bunch of like other restaurants all sort of around. So I stopped at one of the service areas, and I had a Barcelona beer, and I had a plate of cheese and meat. That's basically all I ate when I was in Barcelona, was cheese and meat and beer. And that was really nice. I like how in Europe you can just sit down at an outdoor cafe, and it might take a little while for the server to notice you just because it's a major city and they're dealing with, you know, 8,000 other people. But you can just sit down and order something, and your food usually comes pretty quickly after you order it, and then you don't have to leave until you ask for the bill. I realize now why all my friends who've been to Europe before are just comfortable sitting in a booth after we finish, and I'm sitting there going, come on guys, we gotta go. They want to get us out of here. And the cheese was amazing. There's no cheese left in Europe, by the way. There's no cheese left in Europe. I've eaten it all. All. It's gone. Sorry. No, not sorry. I'm going to use this brush, this large powder brush, for my bronzer. This is the Anastasia powder bronzer in Rose Bronze. So I had a lovely dinner slash lunch slash just sitting there being lazy and staring at the beautiful blue sky. At night, I'm not sure if it was one of the nights, or maybe it was both of the nights, when I was walking back to my Airbnb in the Gothic, sort of behind the cathedral, there's sort of this area where people sing opera at night, and it's kind of amazing because it's, you know, these, you know, just people hanging out, singing opera, and, you know, of course they have their little boom boxes or something playing the music, the orchestral music, and then they just start singing, and people are just gathered around, and they start singing with or start clapping. It's just sort of joyful and amazing, beautiful, you know, and they're just in their street clothes singing opera in the Gothic. It's so cool. I ended up just saying hola and gracias a lot. That was about the extent of the Spanish I used or learned. I didn't really hear anyone, the only people that I really heard speak Catalan were the older people. And again, I'm just a tourist there for 2 days, so I don't know if that's representative, but the only people that I heard say bon was a bon dia, or older people. I also saw some protesters, because there's quite a bit of political agitation going on in Barcelona and the Catalan region right now. About a year ago, they tried to announce their independence from Spain, and a bunch of people got arrested. So there was a protest march, again, primarily of older people. They were protesting political prisoners and marching down the Gothic, I think to the administrative building there that was near where my Airbnb was. Next, I'm going to use this powder brush for my blush. This is the Blush Trio in Peachy Love. I'm going to be using the one in the middle called Nectar. No, Ginger. Ginger. I don't claim to be that politically aware. I try to stay out of politics because I have a nonpartisan job, and also I'm just lazy and don't want to think about it. But, you know, it pays to be a little bit politically aware of the country that you're going into and the history that it has, especially within the last year of what's going on. So just a little advice, do some research, just be aware of your surroundings and be polite to people. That's what I find when I travel. Like, you don't know the language, okay. You don't know what you want, okay. You don't know where you are, okay. Just be polite. Don't push people around. I know when you're traveling, it's exhausting, and you know, when you're in a big city, people tend to push each other around, and there are times when I definitely felt a little bit ugly American about that, just because I'm a woman and I don't like being pushed around by groups of large people who are, you know, tourists like myself. So I could feel myself getting a little bit ugly American at times when I was just walking down something like La Rambla or something, but I just took a breath and said, I'm on vacation, just deal with it. Just walk where you need to walk, and if people want to bump into you, they can bump into you, and when you go into a store and you want something, be polite, at least try to, like, say hola and gracias, and, you know, communicate to them what you want. And most people that I found in the countries that I was in spoke English anyway, but I would just encourage you to greet them in their own language, and even if you're not fluent, you know, just try, and don't expect everyone to cater to you because you're a tourist. That's not why you should travel. You should travel because you want to learn something new, want to see something new, want to meet new people. So that is my advice, and don't be a jerk. Next, I'm going to use my Master Chrome in Molten Rose Gold. You can see the pan that I have on it with the highlighter brush. Had a lovely last night in Barcelona. Got to see the ocean. Got to know the metro a little bit. The subway. And felt really, really good. Really didn't want to leave because it was so beautiful, but I was going to Paris, so, you know, not a bad trade-off. I tried not to be too entitled during my journey, however, it was a vacation all about me, right? Next, I'm going to use my Liquid Courage Lux lipstick that I just got from Colourpop. Very pretty brick shade. It's dark and gorgeous, and I love it. So the next day, I got up early, packed all my stuff, put on some comfortable clothes, and walked down to La Rambla to the L3, I believe, to the metro line. Went down the wrong elevator the first time, went back up and went down the right elevator the next time. Made it to the Barcelona train station and walked in. The train station was really nice, really modern. I think I went through security once, maybe had to show my passport once, but it was not like an airport. I got in the right line, I got on the train. The train was amazing. It was one of the nicest trains I was on during my whole trip. Had a seat all to myself near the window and just put my luggage in the luggage rack, and yeah, just took pictures, watched the Spanish countryside fade into the French countryside. It was a little bit funny because they would do the announcements in Spanish, French, and English while we were in Spain, and then as soon as we crossed the French border, no announcements in English. So it was a little bit like, okay, I see where we're coming from. But the Spanish countryside was beautiful. It kind of went around through Girona and along the sort of southern edge, and then went up through the south of France, which was just like you would expect it to look in a Van Gogh painting. It was beautiful, lots of little maisons and country houses, and the whole train ride was just so cool. And finally I got to Paris, and that is a story for another Get Ready With Me. So this is the look that I have today with my Mar palette from Colourpop and Liquid Courage Lux lipstick. Let me know what you think about this Get Ready With Me. Let me know if you're interested in anything else about Barcelona that I didn't talk about. Let me know if you're specifically interested in anything about my travels that you want me to talk about. I'm going to keep putting these videos up whether I get any comments or not, because I like to do it, it's fun to do, and I like this look, and I like to try my new makeup. So, and I like to travel and talk about my travels. So thank you so much for sticking with me through this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.